We have a baby matrix. We have an ab matrix. We have cervical matrix. But if you don't understand this first one, then you don't understand the principles. 2, if you do it a little bit wrong, you can undo everything that Steve's been doing on a back patient for 3 weeks. We can undo it that fast. So the hard thing about the matrix is, the matrix is something that after the evaluation and people get going and they're progressing and they're getting ready to get discharged in maybe a couple weeks, we start teaching them this, so this is a home program that they can maintain and it's sustainable. So the beautiful thing is we got to understand the basics. So everyone, if you got you might have to put your pizzas down, and we're going to have Drew and Austin and Sarah and Erica maybe kind of supervising like groups when you guys see something that's just a little bit off. I want you to make any adjustments. But everyone else stand up because we're going to go through all the motions. I'm going to show you the motion and I'm going to show you the most common error made in that motion. Okay? So, Steve, how do you say get ready in Chinese?
Jiao!
Jiao! Okay, you guys don't speak Chinese. So,
did everybody get that?
If I just said to you, get ready, and you're in a state championship basketball game, what position would you get into? Okay, so I can say that in Chinese, Japanese, Korean, and everybody gets ready, and they load in a position where she's ready to go left, right, up, down, forward, or back. Knees are bent, ankles bent, heads up. They got a little bit of lordosis. And so this is the position we want to assume when we do the matrix. When we do the matrix, okay, Chayo. Oh, you guys stink. Chinese, we're speaking Chinese. Chayo. Okay, everybody up, we're in a disposition. Now, what I like about everybody here is I got everybody using their hips and their butts back. I don't have anyone doing the no butt syndrome where your pants fall down because you don't have a butt. Okay, we want your butt out. Okay, use the butt. You got to be a little bit immodest. Stick it out there. Okay, first move. You're starting with your hands up here like a boxer. If someone's doing left hook, right hook on your head, you're going to block them. You're going to put your hands right here. We're going to go to the front of the sagittal plane and you're going to use your legs. So punch straight forward, come down. Perfect. Everyone's using their hips. Everyone's using their butts. Great job. Where we run into trouble on this is where people, when they reach, sometimes they're reaching straight up. No, it's in front of you. 45 degrees. Get it up above your head in front.
And the other one too that I see happen a lot is people will drop their hands automatically right down to their waist. They're not keeping them up because we're not used to having our hands out like this. So you want to watch for that.
Remember, you're in a boxing match. You get hit, you put your hands down, you're going to get hit. Keep your hands up. Okay, now we're going to go to the back of the sagittal plane. Notice I'm going to look up, reach, lengthen my body, and I'm going to extend my arm. This is a common one. I'm not quite sure what this is, but it's called elbow karate or something. But if their elbows are here, you're extending. You're looking up, you're getting long, and you're reaching. Beautiful. You guys are great. I mean, you guys are naturals at this. Go ahead and we do 4. When we go to the frontal plane, really simple. Just tell people reach away from midline. Get in that chayo position, and you're going to go straight out. Notice it's up and out. It's not down. It's not over here. And my hands are still up blocking that shot. You drop them to here, you're going to get hit right in the head. Okay? Right up here. Out the other side. They don't even need to really look that way if they don't want to. We're going to get 4. So if we just did 4 away from midline, where's the next 4? Across midline. Now notice when I reach across, look how my ribs are bending, look how my hips are bending. Everything in my body is straight.
Smile for the camera.
So we don't want to have our body straight and just move the arm over.
Good job,
Does that make sense? Everybody see that? This is not an arm exercise. We're going to stand up and get your whole body, open your rib cage. See if they can get those rib cages just to splay open. Beautiful. Hands up, chayo, boxer position, you're in a fight. Don't let them hit you in the side of the head, right in the temple, you'll go down. Now we're going to rotate away from midline, 45 degrees and up. 45 degrees and up. Good job. Get that arm extended, rotate the hips. So if we just rotated away from midline, now we're going to rotate across. Up and across. Have them look up, have them extend, get tall. You guys are great. Every one of you are loading your hips really well. Super job. Okay, we just went to the front, the back of the sagittal, frontal plane, away from midline across, transverse plane, away from midline across. So now we go to the next one. Arms straight. Get in the position, where you're getting ready to almost, getting ready like a linebacker, getting ready to make a tackle or fill a hole. Okay, arms straight, use your legs to lift in the sagittal. Make sure the legs are lifting. Every once in a while I see this, I see people squat and raise their hand. So that's not using your legs to lift, right? That's opposite. 2. Now let's go to the back. Now, what's the worst motion on a back with a herniated disc?
Bending forward.
Good, flexion and rotation. So flexion and rotation is one of the worst things on a herniated disc. So if I'm going back, notice I didn't flex or rotate. What if I go back like this?
You're flexing.
I'm flexing, rotating. Steve's going to kick me in the butt because he's worked for 3 weeks
Oh,
to
I'm
get
on my way over.
this disc back.
I'm in a
And I'm
matrix
working
right
with
over
patient,
there.
and they're almost better, and then I just say, oh, go ahead and twist and rotate. And all of a sudden we tweak it. Now we got to start over. So okay, use your legs again to lift though. Straight back in the sagittal. Elbows up, straighten that arm. Okay, away from midline. I like the way you guys use your legs to lift. I don't see anyone fragmented. A lot of people get fragmented. Okay, across midline.
Just say hello.
Back for posture, and that'll eliminate this forward bend that you're
Okay, now we're going to rotate,
So
and I
more
call
like
this
more like
90-90.
more like this
90
instead of
degrees
like
in the
this.
armpit,
Just the difference
90
from here
degrees,
to here.
90
Okay?
degrees at the bicep. So when we say 90-90, and then when you have a weight in your hand and you take it back, you're going to hit the end. I see a lot of things where people go back and they stick their arm and preach. Remember, it's 90-90. This is kind of a temple preparation class. Okay, give me a 90 degree. Here we are. This is a religious clinic. Ready, other side, back. Other side, back. And if you do have a weight in your hand, you can let that weight kind of drop back. For my baseball pitchers, I'll let that weight drop back so we can get all the flexors in there just a little bit. So we rotated away from midline, so now we're going to rotate where? Across. Now again, watch this. My whole body rotates, and it's like I'm giving myself a hug. I've had some people just say, oh, just kiss your bicep. That's all they're doing. Just kiss your bicep. Get ready, Chayo. Reach around, give yourself a little hug. Tell yourself how awesome you are. Give yourself a nice little hug there.
Hey
Notice
guys,
everybody's hips were turning.
watch Buck's feet when he goes through these repetitions. Pay really close attention to that because you'll see a lot of your patients plant their feet like they're glued to the floor and they don't move. He cannot get his hips and his belly button and give himself a big hug if both the feet stay flat.
So if my feet are
So
flat,
watch
look what
that.
happens.
Watch his feet.
My belly button's pointed there. My shoulders are there. All that twisting's happening right where Steve spent 3 weeks fixing a problem at L455S1, and I'm just pill grinding it into dust because I didn't get my feet to pivot and turn the pelvis. Pelvis, shoulders need to end up in the same spot. Okay, good. Any questions so far? That's the first half. Okay, phase 3.
I see a lot of people like go down and they rock back on their heels just a little bit and they go out onto the outsides of their feet.
Beautiful. So when we come down in that athletic position, Chayo, and she's an athlete. See how her toes kind of popped up and did a wheelie? Rum, 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 okay? Hey, lean, squeeze the ball between your legs. I didn't say knock knee. Just squeeze the ball and lean so the weight's in the whole foot, including the ball of the foot. No wheelies. Okay, thanks, Drew. That's a common one. Okay, now when we take our step for the first lunge, we'll go to the front of the sagittal plane. Notice when we step forward, head up, shoulders back. I keep the lordosis, and I'm going to go chest to knee. See how my back's almost parallel to the floor? I'm getting ready to make a tackle. I'm coming right in. I'm going to knock this guy's legs right out from under him. Now when you come back to the shoulder. Chest to knee, keep the back arched. Good job, chest to knee. Notice you got to get the hip up. I have a lot of people that think they got to, like they're camping or something, they got to drop their butt. Okay, no camping on this still. Here we go, chest to knee, up to the shoulder. Chest to knee, up to the shoulder. Step backwards. Now, when you step backwards, notice I'm still in the sagittal plane. A lot of people, when they step back, they kind of open up or twist their foot. Keep it straight. Load the back foot. Load the back foot. Come up. Chest to knee again. Keep your hips up. Okay, now I'm looking at a few of you. Some of you are posting that front leg. Bend both. Even though it's a small step, bend both. And see how your foot's out a little bit? There you go. Stay straight, bend both, load both, keep them straight.
And one thing also, look at Austin. See how his knees are up. Well, if you can see past the quad, you need like three-dimensional glasses to get through that depth. But see how this knee is out there and not in here. Make sure they're not dropping in like they've lost control of their hips. We got to keep the knees out there when they're doing this.
You ever feel your boss's thigh? Not awkward at all.
I'm editing right now. We're going to have to redo the last 3 minutes.
This is beautiful. Just like they said, we want our feet straight and we want to be squeezing, but we don't want a knock knee and we don't want the knee out. You're on top of your feet.
Right.
Okay, we're going to go away from midline. I'm just going to show you what most people do wrong on this one. Did I post the leg? Yeah, big time. Just take a medium step so that when you come down, the weight's on this leg. Do not let that knee flare out. Let that knee be in here so you can do a scissor move or a double scissor right there. But just and then come back up. Keep the weight on the inside edge. Load both legs, both knees bend, but do not post the leg. Feel that leg post just a little there? Just don't let it post. Good job. Weight still stays on the toes. Do not get popping wheelies. Okay, now we're going to do the crossover. This is hard for a lot of people, and it can be uncomfortable. Okay? So, with that being said, don't go up to the extremes. If I got a 65-year-old lady, just have her come right in front of the foot, maybe. If I got a young gymnast, she can come across and come down. But have that come on sense, a little bit of come on sense, where pay attention to if they're an athlete, they can come across. If they're 60, just have them put it in front, maybe just a little bit. Find that happy medium. Again, chest to knee. Notice I never went below my knee with my hands. Okay, let's rotate.
With that one, what do you like the weight distribution to be on the balance beam?
It's always on the foot you're stepping. If I'm stepping back, it's on the back step. If I'm stepping out, it's on that step. If I'm stepping across, it's on the foot I'm stepping across. Good question. Real good. Okay, so if our feet are facing 12 o'clock, open your right foot to 5. Okay, this is nice because it's like you're riding a bull. Okay, your toes are out, your heels are up, your spurs are on. Watch the head. Here we go. Chest to knee. Come back up. Step to 7 o'clock, chest to knee. Bring it back up. Chest to knee. Bring it back up. Well, you guys are moving fluid and smooth. Very good. Now we'll rotate across. This is the one where you take your foot and you rotate to about 11 o'clock. Problems we have on this one is when people rotate excessively. Too much. Hey, keep it simple. Just point to 11, chest to knee. Try that. You want to feel something uncomfortable? Rotate that foot all the way to 9 and then try it. See how that one feels on you. Okay? Too much, right? Yeah. To the knee.
Above or like at our knees?
Go to the knee and then come up. Okay. As we go to the last one, this one can be a little bit hard on a back patient that's not fully rehabbed. Because if I go to the floor, I got my back arched, I got my back arched. As soon as I go to the floor, see how I lose it just a little bit? So, if this is a shoulder patient or a hip patient or another patient that we can do, that's great. If it's a back patient, we call this, Steve had a question the other day, says, what's the modified 60 matrix? If I got a lady like right now, she's 88, has balance problems, on level 3, I just let her go a little bit above her knee, and then when we do 4, I let her go just a little bit below the knee. That way she has good posture, good balance, and we're not pushing her to extreme. So that's how we can tweak it to fit someone that's not quite ready, but they're ready to get progressing onto a home program. Okay, so now go to your floor, and then when you come up, reach down, chest to knee, touch, come up and look up and stretch like taffy. I would. If you do this right, your belly button should stretch 6 inches. Try that.
That's a great looking belly button.
Look up. Oh, say that
Do you
again.
want your heels coming out the ground when you stretch?
Not so much. just get a great stretch and look up and look at that posture. Look and see, ear over shoulder over hip
It's
straight.
amazing. Did you guys want to see
Little
it?
extension. Okay, step backwards. When we step backwards, the temptation is for people to start squatting again. No, keep your butt up, chest to knee. Reach up again. Reach up again. Chest to knee. Reach up, don't let your foot twist, and do not post your leg. Do not post that leg. Keep both legs bent and stay straight. Okay, now we're going to go to your right. Here's something really neat about the matrix. What's the number one way people learn?
By doing.
Doing.
Doing? Yeah. It's repetition. Seeing, tasting, hearing. Which one? Visual. We learn visual. So if I'm teaching Austin and I'm in front, this is really good visual for him to follow, but I can't see what he's doing. So if I'm facing Austin, anytime I want to go to my left, it's his right, because the step to your right. And then we're a mirror. So now he can see everything I'm doing, and it's a mirror. But if somebody's right next to me, I'm talking to him and I'm saying it, but I can't really see. So if you can, when you teach it, try to be their mirror and show them what we're trying to do. Okay, we already did the side right. Okay, we did our cross. Okay, go to the floor. Here we go. All the way forward. It's going to do one of each, and then reach and look up. Reach and look up. Beautiful. Now, take it forward and across, depending on your total knee. You maybe can get there, maybe you can't. But step across, go down to the floor, look up and reach. Go to the floor, look up and reach. Okay, when you rotate, watch this. When I'm down here, this is kind of interesting because when you don't have a weight, you don't feel it. What's wrong with my posterior lateral step? Posting. So again, chest to knee, but let both legs stay bent. Try that again. Rotate to 5 o'clock, rotate to 7 o'clock. Beautiful. Okay, and then the last one, you're going to rotate to 11, and you should feel that pull right in your butt. But if you're at 11, it won't hurt. If you go to 10 or 9, it hurts.
Comment on the one before, when you're rotating away, make sure that front leg doesn't fall in again.
Do that. So I'm going to go chest to knee, but don't let it cave in.
So we're almost doing like a sumo squat?
So don't take too big
Yeah.
of a stretch, a step if your adductors don't have that kind of range.
So first off, guys, everything I saw, great job. But take pride in being perfect on this, because this is the infrastructure for success and sustainability. Any questions on any of that? We've had some good questions. And then here's the nice thing: the therapist might say, "Step it up 20% today." That's going to be tough. Or increase weight. So we can increase speed, we can increase weight, we can turn it into a hop step. You know, so we're hopping on and off, hopping. There's a lot of ways to tweak it, but if we don't know this, there's nowhere to go.
Now, on clarity, we're talking about 4 repetitions where people are trying to annotate this on the notes or just being clear as they're teaching it to a patient. Is 4 repetitions 4 right, 4 left, or is it 2 right, 2 left?
2 right, 2 left.
Okay, so 4 total.
And that's our standard. So if you put 6D matrix, and you don't have to write anything else if you just did the standard.
Well, I know, but just so that,
Yeah, right.
so that an aide knows what to teach a patient.
Yeah. So I was going to say, the standard across the board would be, 1, 2, 3, 4. That was 2 each side. Now we go to the back. Good. And then, sometimes we need to do more than that, so we can write that in, but that way you don't need to write everything in. And then just remember, if it's a modified, if it's an 85-year-old, if it's a modified level 3, 4, we might be going just above the knee to the shoulder, and we might be going just below. Just the way to modify it a little bit for their special case. Real impressed, guys. Give yourself applause.
Yeah.
Excellent job.
Karen is going to get really dynamic with you guys now.
Can I have a table? Can you follow me to a table?
Absolutely. Yes, let's go to a table. I can't follow you very far because I'm tethered.
Okay.
My umbilicus is 10 feet long. But this is everybody. Look at everybody. Hi, smile, wave. We're having so much fun. Those of you that are watching this on DVD, you missed out on pizza. Okay.
Okay, I want to talk about the dynamic calf and dynamic quad stretches. So, a lot of times our patients think that the moving thing is what matters, and it often isn't. So, when we're doing, can I come here and be a little more seen? Does that work?
That's working
If
great.
I'm doing a calf stretch, and I'm like this, will you keep this from moving?
That's not going to go anywhere now.
Display of strength, like, what am I gonna do?
And this is the leg that's moving. People start thinking that my left leg is the important leg. But this is the leg we're stretching, right? So make sure people realize we're stretching the right calf. Pay attention to the stretch in the right calf. Don't let that stretch leave. So you want them to have this be feeling the stretch here, and then we're going to move in those planes that we just moved in, right? So we're going to come forward. We're going to get a little bit of a stretch out of that calf in the sagittal plane. We're going to move right and left and get some stretch out of that calf in the frontal plane. Notice how much my hips and my ankle are moving.
What are one of the
This is not what's happening.
Yeah.
Because this happens a lot. Because it's really important that my left leg move, right? No, not really. It's important that my ankle moves and my hip moves. That's what matters. Okay? Same with our transverse plane. Thank you. We want rotation to be happening in that calf, in the ankle, in the hip. It's not this. Right? We want to see rotation happening. So turn around, if you will. See if you can find a wall. Something that you can lean against.
If you can't find a wall, Austin's available.
That'd be good. So get that leg back behind. Pretend that there's a $100 bill under your ankle. Don't let the wind blow away your $100 bill. Okay? Keep your heel down. And now let's move in that sagittal plane. The knee's going to come forward. We're going to get a stretch out of that calf. Paying attention to the calf that
Are you
is
guys
not
rearranging
moving,
our
right?
furniture now?
Okay, let's go side to side. So we're going to reach far to the right, reach far to the left. Make sure that ankle and hip is moving. We don't care that much about the moving leg. As much as they can get. Okay, now we're going to rotate. We're going to open up our hips, close our hips. Make sure that rotation is happening in the down ankle and down hip. Okay? Okay, thank you. Okay, dynamic quad, same thing. So we want them to make sure they're feeling the stretch through that quad the whole time that they're doing this stretch. And it's important that the hips are moving. Our arms are going to be doing things, but if this is all that's happening, notice how much my hips are moving. Zilcho, this doesn't really matter. Because what my arms are doing is not the important thing here. Again, it's my hips. I want to see my hips moving, okay? So you want to have that leg, not necessarily heel to butt. A lot of people think that this is the best way to stretch that quad. But it can be hard on your knee if you're going to crank on it that much. So you don't need to be that close, but you need to have your hips tilted up, okay? If you can kind of feel this, you might be able to find a few things you can put your leg on. But tilt your belly button up towards the ceiling. Yeah, I'll share. I'm happy to share.
This weight set.
Tilt your belly button up
You can
towards
put it
the
on the edge of
ceiling.
this.
So now you should feel a stretch on your quad. Now we're going to start to reach. We're going to reach in our planes. Up. And let that hip move just a little bit. Elongate the front of your body. And I'm not doing this very fast because I want to get that stretch. Okay, now we're going to reach in the frontal plane. Reach across the top of our body. My hip is going to sway a little bit to the right a little bit to the left.
Kayleen, that is
Nice
so
and
sweet of you
controlled.
to hold his
Okay, now I'm
foot.
gonna rotate. Nice and controlled. Whoa, let those hips rotate.
Now, one thing to mention is you guys just went through the 60 matrix on the very end where Buck said, when you extend your arm, stretch and reach. Give that same advice to patients with the reach on their hand. If they can reach to one point, tell them to find another inch or two in that reach so that extends their core and gets deeper into the hip flexor and the quad. Not just getting their hands higher and lower, but just like Karen was saying, and just tell them to reach for an extra inch or two.
Austin calls out plussing it, but if you go, everyone right now, just reach your hand high as you can. Now, if someone says for $500, keep your heels on the floor and try to touch the ceiling. Everybody just got 3 more inches. That's a plus. So give it that plus when you get there. Give it that plus. Have them plus that. And it's amazing. 3 more inches and their heels never leave the floor. So
But they don't get the
that's a
$500.
great- They need to touch the ceiling.
All right, good job, Karen. Thank you. Oh, we clapped for you, Austin. Apparently things went well. Jonathan's going to take us through the scapular short arcs now.
Okay.
He's going to show us how to short arc.
Scapular short arc. So just like Buck was talking about form and mechanics, Karen was talking about the hips, the scapular short arcs are designed to work what particular area? And more specifically than the shoulder, the scapula. So many times we just do little ball and socket stuff, right? That's not what we're after. It's scapular short arcs. So this first, you're kind of in that ready position, and we've got our sagittal plane. It's either a jogger or a train type motion. Sometimes we can do like a reach. Sometimes if you reach a little lower, you get that shoulder blade to glide. Reach forward, reach back. If you want to have it be a little more jogger, the same idea. It's that reach, reach. Some offices do a little more jogger, some do a little more train. But the key is not shoulder blade, not ball and socket. It's all shoulder blade. Get the scapula gliding. Okay? Sometimes we'll have them go reverse with that train. So we're still getting that to glide in that sagittal plane. Okay, the next one is...
Just one of the things that Jonathan was pointing out, and you guys will have seen this as he did it, and I was watching each of you. Some of you actually had this down better than others, just conceptually, but the scapula will only move around the rib cage if the rib cage is moving. So we saw some really good trunk rotation, and we saw some not so much trunk rotation. So as you're teaching that exercise, make sure they're knowing that if you want to get the rib cage to move, tell them to move the belly button. It will make the rib cage move. Absolutely. You cannot not move your rib cage if your belly button is moving.
Kind of like Karen was saying, it's all in those hips really drive that motion. Let the hips really help guide what we're doing. Okay, so that was kind of the first position, that train or jogger. And then the next one, we'll do like a retraction or kind of a flasher type motion. Now, there's modifications to this, right? If some people have kind of their messed up rotator cuff or whatever, we might need to do them one arm and make them more kind of functional or the different steps. But right now, kind of base retraction, if we start lower, it's easier on their posture. Maybe they're pretty flared up through their neck and scapula. So if we start low, but then eventually we'll come to where we're a little higher, okay? And when we come all the way forward, we're letting our scapulas protract, and when we come back, we're letting them retract. Good posture in our athletic stance, kind of
Chinese.
ready with that.
Jayo,
Jayo.
not Zippo,
Yes.
Jayo.
which sounds like it, but Jayo.
Like, I know we do an alpine.
You can, right? That we don't want to be locked and we don't want to be stiff, and we're not only doing ball and socket, right? So that's a great modification. The therapist might say, hey, this patient needs to take a step with each one of those. That would be kind of translate maybe into IYNT, or they might not. So that's a good modification that you can do. Okay, so that second phase was those retractions, that flasher, the scapular is protracting, retracting. Yeah.
Is there ever a point where we'll want them to like have their elbows to their side moving out like this, or do you just want it to be in the 90-degree and then like down here?
So if my elbow's stuck to my side, I'm getting a lot of just ball and socket external rotation. So that can be maybe something that the patient needs, but that wouldn't necessarily be part of the scapular short arcs because I'm not moving my scapula at all.
Yeah.
Right, so these ones we're getting the scapula to initiate and drive that motion. So with all of our ball and socket kind of and shoulder, the scapula is a third of what happens. So yes, we can work internal external rotation, but we just kind of clarify with what the therapist wants us to do. What's the end goal with what that exercise is?
An FYI for you guys, patients are going to ask you guys lots of questions. You're the ones that are one-on-one with these patients often through their exercises, and they may not really clearly understand exactly why you're having them do an exercise like that. As Jonathan's teaching this scapular short arc exercise, it's helpful for you to understand and help the patients understand that the only way a shoulder can be functional, like for a baseball player who's throwing a ball, or a volleyball player, or a basketball player going for a block, or a football player, or a tennis player, the only way that ball and socket can do the right thing is if its foundation gets it where it belongs, and the foundation is on the scapula. The glenoid fossa is part of the scapula, so you're teaching the foundation of the shoulder how to move to where it belongs and how to get there safely, effectively, with strength and with control. That's the purpose of the scapular short arc. Many of our orthopedists that send us post-op shoulder patients expect us to teach the patient how important the scapula is before we even start to get the shoulder joint moving. So these are very important, and it's important for you to understand that and to help the patients understand that you're just teaching the shoulder how to get where it belongs so it can do what it needs to do safely.
Along those lines, I always mention to the patients that the scapula is the foundation, right? It's that beginning building blocks. It recruits more muscles, you're bringing more friends to the party, you're helping more support to that shoulder, or the neck, or whatever it is that we're working on with that. Okay, and then there's two more phases of that. One will be like a cross punch, and one will be like an uppercut. But the key, kind of going back to what Karen said, it's all in the hips. So this is not what we're after. We're going to start with footwork. Get the hips to twist. So sometimes I'll even just have the patients, I'll say just step with me a few times. Let their hips. And now we're going to add the cross punch. And it's not a knockout punch. It's more like Buck was just saying. It's that plus. So you get there and then go like 2 more inches. Get there, go 2 inches. Now the front arm is protracting and the back one retracts a little bit.
So we do want to pull that back.
Freeze right there, Jonathan, do that again. Freeze right here. See how this elbow's back here? A lot of times people, they turn and they just keep it like, just leave it like that.
Yes. So it should be one side protracts and the other side retracts. Right? And so you get there and go another 2 inches, get a good stretch. And right, the footwork is the key. So we're getting their hips. So if they're having a hard time just doing this, just get them moving first, stepping, and then add the arms, and then add that final reach with that retraction. So they're going through that full motion. Okay, and then the last phase, it would be an uppercut, same footwork. So sometimes I won't even teach us, they just start doing this again, right? We're getting their hips and belly button moving. Okay, and then we're going to do an uppercut where the front shoulder does that upward rotation and the back one has that little bit of that retract. And it's almost like you have a little bit of a mini squat in the middle of that.
Where should head be, like looking over the bicep or looking next to the elbow?
I like it straightforward. Now, that could be a variation if the patient has neck issues too. That can add that. But just looking forward, letting it stay in line with your spine. Okay. Any questions on those? So remember to do that retract as well
Sometimes when we're doing the punches, I tell the patients to retract and they retract, but I probably can't even do it. But they like punch and they retract like this, rather than like this. Is that
Right, so they're just doing kind of more ball and socket. They're just kind of that same thing. So what we want to do is get them to move the scapula. And so you can, sometimes you can kind of help them. Put your hands on their shoulder blades and glide them so they can know the difference between, you know, just the ball and socket moving and the whole shoulder blade and scapula moving. That's a good question. Okay, so form, posture, getting that ready position. The hips drive the motions, right? Whether it's, you know, any of those positions. Too many times we see kind of flat-footed and just kind of wiggling the arms. You know, and when we teach it, if we really emphasize form and mechanics, when they get home, they'll remember some of that, and then they do it a little less, and then they do it a little less, and then by the time they come back, it doesn't look exactly like we taught it. So if we really spend that time teaching them over the top, correct form mechanics, then as they're kind of trying to remember and practice, then it starts to look more and more right. But if we demonstrate it lax, they're going to do it even more lax, and then they're like, why am I even doing this? You know what I mean? So it's important that we kind of teach with real kind of form and mechanics. Okay, awesome.
Thanks, guys. Good job, gentlemen. Heather, how would you like to take us through linebacker squats and foul shots?
Okay. All right, so linebacker squats, we do these a lot. And I would say, I don't know, what's that word you say in Chinese?
I say a lot of words in Chinese.
That high.
When I don't want people to understand what I'm saying.
That Japanese.
Jiayo.
It's a po. That's all I know. So you're going to get in that squat. And a lot of kind of the mechanics of this, what we're trying to teach people is to get their bum back. Because if they're, yep, and then the toes, the big thing is a lot of people want to do the wheelie like Buck was saying, or they'll come back on the heels. The whole purpose of this exercise is to get people to use their bum and their glutes. We have big glutes for a reason. That's what we were made with, because we're supposed to use that instead of our back. And so you get a lot of patients that have back problems, and this is what they do. You know, they're like reaching, or they'll go like this and grab things, and that's not good for their back. So we're going to teach them to get back in this position. Sometimes this is a struggle. Getting someone to do this, they're like, I'm doing it. And you're like, nope. And so you have to sometimes get a visual for them and put a chair there and have them just touch their bum on the chair first to get used to. A lot of people aren't comfortable sticking their backside out. We've been like, oh, that's not proper etiquette, right? So unless you played a sport where you're used to doing that, it's really foreign to people. And that a lot of people who have knee problems too, back and knee, they're not using their hips or their glutes at all. So they're coming down, toes down, heels, weight in the heels and in the toes, and kind of on the inside of that foot. You'll have people who will want to drop in. Your knees are supposed to stay shoulder, okay? And then they just come up. So that's what, and it's this nice gliding motion. It's not like a, and then their arms are wherever. It's like they have them come and mimic you. And then sometimes if it's a knee, watch. They might go like this and not put any weight on the other knee. That's the injured one. They want to stay off, so make sure to their tolerance that they do equal weight bearing in both feet. Is there anything else you guys want to add? Yes.
So, we'll sometimes like have them hold on to
Yes.
the true stretch. Do we eventually want them to come off of the true stretch and just do it on their own?
Some people, yes, some people no. It just depends. Some people may be able to be advanced to that. I know in Orem you guys use the true stretch a lot, and I've seen it in Alpine a few times, not as common. But that's another variation if they need. I had a patient the other day, she struggled so hard with getting this. Like that was, I've never seen someone struggle so hard for a younger person. And so I put the chair and I said, you can also grab like a banister and hold it and do that too, because they're afraid they're gonna fall back. And so, because they're weak. And so you can have them hold that, and then it's more about them focusing getting the bum back than worrying about falling over.
And holding on to something, like very few people have a true stretch lying around in their family room or in their basement. so they can hold on to like a door frame
Yep.
and do into that. And what we're trying to do is let them have their muscles feel what it's like to do it correctly without falling over. Functional physical therapy, one of the primary principles of it is teach from success. And if somebody's trying to do an exercise that you are convinced how to do, you know exactly how to do it, you're going to help them be excellent at it, and they fail at it, the only way they can progress from a failure is into more failure. So you have to help them have that one bit of success and let them build forward from that. And sometimes it requires stability that they don't have, whether it's a balance issue, whether it's pain, whether it's weakness, or a combination of those things, and holding on to the true stretch, or teaching them how to hold on to their door frame at home and reproduce that same exercise gets their body and their muscle memory saying, oh, I know how to engage my glute, my hamstring, my quads, my calves at the same time. And then then that is their success, and they become better and better at it. And as Austin is pointing out over here just now, yeah, we want them to be able to do this without having to hold on to something, because you don't always have something to hold on to when you need that. But sometimes you just don't have something else to hold on
No,
to.
usually, think of a position, being in that position, what would we use that in our everyday life? What do we do? Why are we getting like this?
Picking up a kid.
Yeah, picking up a child, picking up a laundry basket, putting laundry into the washing machine.
Yeah, picking up after Jonathan. I mean, it's all day long.
So, I mean, there's tons of things that you're doing in that position, and that's where we want them to be, so. Any other questions on that one?
I have two.
You, then you.
Okay, thing number one is I see a lot of people like lock their knees all the way out when they get to the top. That's bad.
Soft
right?
knees, soft knees.
Yeah, and then number two, like I was told that like when you go down, instead of just like focusing on keeping good posture, you should also add on like pretty much glue your head up the whole time. So when you come down, you're forward. When you come up, you're already up. Like it's just a lot easier to.
Yeah, you can do that. Okay, awesome.
That was something that I noticed kind of when you did the demonstration just now, we didn't reach up.
That's like the foul shot.
Okay, because on a lot of the charts here, I noticed it says linebacker, but patients are taught to reach, even though it says linebacker on the chart.
Yeah, so I think it depends on what the therapist wants, but sometimes we merge the foul shot and the linebacker together. That's actually why I wanted to teach these two today, because I see it a lot. So the foul shot, and that would just be something that the therapist may be asking. So I don't know, what do you guys want to say? If it's a linebacker with a reach, do you want to say linebacker with reach? Do you want to say foul shot? Do you want to say just linebacker? How do you guys want to distinguish that for the
A
aides?
linebacker would be just the standard, and then add something. If he wants to add it, then he can say linebacker with
reach.
But if it's just his linebacker, there's no reach until that's added.
And then, so if it says foul shot, this is what the foul shot is. So you're gonna have your feet staggered just slightly, shoulder width apart. Just like if you played basketball, you're gonna throw the hips back, get ready, come up, and then like if you're gonna shoot it. Now, sometimes, because you can use both hands, if you're here, you can kind of come up and go like that. You know,
Foul shot.
One follows, right? But that's it. So it's gonna come up on the, no granny shots. No granny shots, he was saying. So, because then you're down here, right? So, but that's what it is, so it's a smooth, and then you can switch the other side, stagger the other way, same thing, come down and come up.
And weight is on both feet.
Yep, weight is on both, yep. And then they're coming up on their toes. Now, this one would be hard for someone who had balance issues, right? So that would be a more advanced one than just the linebacker. And you have them staggered a little bit, which you can throw off some things too. But that's the difference between like a linebacker with a reach and a linebacker just normal and then a foul shot. Anything else you guys want to add?
No, I do, just following up on a comment that Heather made, because the average age of the patients that we work on in our offices is around the mid-30s. But we do have them all the way up into the 80s, and we have them very, very young. And the modification of the control is that we want to make sure that they're not going to lose their balance and fall over and hurt themselves when they're doing these exercises at home. Because we're often telling patients that any exercise we're teaching them in the office that they can reproduce at home, we want them to do it at home in their home program. So the modification that that Heather was pointing out there for, say, somebody who does have balance issues, an older person that may have had a stroke, or somebody who just has generalized weakness, or you know, some type of neuropathy where they have poor control with balance in their feet and their ankles, don't have them get up on their toes, putting them at risk that they're going to try that at home and maybe fall over backwards, not be able to stop that fall and hit their head on a countertop or something else and create another problem for them. So it's
And that's why there's always modifications, and that's what makes a good physical therapist, someone who's working with an athletic trainer, whatever, aide, is that if they are having that you can go to us and we can modify, because safety is always top priority, right? You don't want them to fall, you don't want them to get hurt, that's not the point of the exercise. And if those are risk factors, then we need to modify or discontinue. Katie, did you have a question?
Yeah, so for the like foul shot part, is the standard to stagger your feet?
Standard
and
is
do
the
same-
stagger.
Okay.
it's not a big stagger though.
It's teeny. Just like you're going up to the free throw line, right?
Yeah.
You're not like this, right, at the free throw line? You're here.
Maybe like 5 on each side.
We usually do 10, so it'd probably be, I mean, what do you?
Yeah, I usually do 10 or 10 with each foot forward,
Yeah,
or,
that's fine.
but I'll notate that on the chart,
Yeah.
times 10 or 2 times 10 or
Yeah.
something like
And if you
that.
ever have a question when the exercise is there, ask the therapist, because sometimes we do modify it. Like on the matrix, sometimes we do 4 on each side for someone who needs a little bit more. So, I mean, just, if it's not there, you have a question, just ask, because we do alter and change those at times. And then, did you have a question?
Yeah, sorry. Okay, so sometimes I've seen on the chart that it says linebacker with foul shots. So in that event, are we also trying to stagger our feet?
What office do you work at?
Forum?
What does that mean?
We do, yeah, because that's going to be 2 times 10.
Yeah.
You'll see that on the
So they're
chart.
not 2 separate exercises, they are just the reach?
They're
linebacker
added.
reach?
They're doing them combined.
Okay.
So are we
Slight stagger.
slight stagger with the linebacker?
Like 3 inches,
Okay,
2 or 3 inches.
great.
Okay.
Now, and let me just point one thing out to that. How many of you, in the course of your everyday activity, when you're interacting with your friends, interacting with your job, or just anything, how often are you completely square to who you're talking to or what you're doing? Aside from never, very little, right? So, I know, that's a distinction. So the linebacker with foul shot just allows you to load the pelvis and the core a little bit different, which is kind of consistent with how we move in our life. So we're adding, we created that just so that there's a little bit more of a carryover from physical therapy exercises to how I interact with the world around me. Heather brought up a really good point. When you have a question, most of you, because old people are a little bit intimidating to approach, when you have a question, you go to another aide, similar age, somebody you work with, you're more comfortable saying, I don't know this for sure, do you know this? I think a rule of thumb would be if you ask somebody else and they're like, oh, I'm not sure, wow, don't keep asking another aide. Come to the therapist, because in our hearts, we're still younger than you guys. So literally, come to us and we'll answer that question and be like, oh my gosh, that was such a fun exchange. Most of the time. But anyway, yeah, that's, always ask. And I gotta tell you, when you get an answer from Buck on something, you're gonna come away in a very, very valuable position for that patient. We're gonna come out of that experience and something that you could not bring to that patient, you now can, because you have the expertise and experience that Buck has, who has, dozens of years of experience on that exercise that can help that patient in their scenario. Maybe they're 88, maybe they're 14, whatever that may be. And that makes the physical therapy experience more bang for your buck. No pun intended. Yeah, more bang for buck in their experience in their physical therapy. So anyway, thank you, Heather, for that. Appreciate it.
When Steve plays racquetball,
Oh, no.
he does kind of stand like this. He's not in a very staggered position.
Well, that's because I never get to the serve. Why would I waste any energy? Actually, Buck, I'm usually leaning against the wall. Okay, so Austin, you've got something really big to show us today in an exercise.
Here we go. There we go.
Oh my gosh!
What? No? Okay. 2 items and we're gonna go home, right? We got this clock, I'm watching this here.
We're on it.
Our time is valuable. So we've got 2 exercises. They're both simple but very profound. The first one is gonna be step throughs, okay? So step throughs are a wonderful exercise that we use for our patients to help them over-exaggerate and learn proper techniques of walking or gait, okay? Sometimes when I see this in the clinic, I just see like this, like the body's like really still and stiff, okay? So when you walk, you're not gonna be like Arnold, right? Okay, or Darth Vader. So oftentimes what I like to do is I'll put down like a strip of tape, or here in Lehigh this is wonderful because you can see like the seams of the carpet. And that line represents the middle of your body, okay? So when we walk, unless you're in Paris, like you don't want to like cross like the midline, right? Ooh. We're selling this video.
I don't even know how to teach that.
What is that?
Yeah, I got a question.
Work in like sagittal planes and stuff like that. Like, yeah, this is YouTube. So, anyways, when we walk or when we do this activity, you're going to start with 1 foot. So go ahead, let's do this with me here. So you're going to have the toes up with 1 foot. Okay, with the other foot, you're going to take a small step forward. Okay, and then with that same foot, you're going to take a small step back. Okay, so that's the foot portion. The important part, what you're looking for when you work with the patient, is this foot that you're standing on. Okay, and in particular, with this foot, you want to roll from your heel to your big toe. Okay, same thing when I come back, heel to big toe. So in your mind, when I teach this to patients, I want them to think about like a rocking horse, a nice smooth motion. Okay. And this step, it shouldn't be like long and exaggerated. I've seen a lot of patients like go really long, okay? It should be a nice in control, because like when you walk, you're going to be still stepping within your base of support. So this exercise should mimic that, okay? The other thing too is going back to that midline with the feet. As they take a step back, I've seen a lot of people as they take a step back, they're going to cross themselves. And that's not good for balance either. So when you work with the patient, you want to make sure that their feet, as they step, remain within their base of support. Okay? So we'll rock through. Good. So now we want to bring our attention up top. Okay? So when we walk, we don't need to be stiff here in the strike zone, like in baseball. We want to naturally have a little bit of motion through the shoulders and through the hips. Okay? So as they walk, you want to have a little bit of motion there. So for example, when I step forward with my left foot, my right shoulder should come forward. Because when we walk in opposites, okay? And this one you can like over-exaggerate. Okay, that's a feeling here. Okay. And lastly, you want the arms to swing freely. See, watch how you're stepping back behind yourself. Better, there you go. Because you'll notice it when they step back, because you'll see like a funky like rotation of the hip. And that's it.
Is it important for the backward step that their foot isn't pointing out? Even if it's
right.
still centered, does it need to be pointing straight forward?
That's right. Yeah. So you want ideally the toes to be pointed forward, maybe just a little bit pitched out, just as if you were to stand or walk yourself. Okay? So that's the important part. You want to have the whole body incorporated in this motion. Okay? Questions with this?
So you should be looking forward the whole time, not
Forward.
their feet.
That's right. That's right. So you might have an elderly patient that they're learning how to walk, or someone who just had surgery and they're nervous about where they're placing their feet. Okay, that's okay for them. Let's say like you just want to help them focus on the foot part. Okay, that's good for that time, but in coming treatments, you want to get their eyes up and confident, right? Because we're helping them relearn or get their brain attached to like their proprioception, their ability to know where they're at in space. Okay.
And they may also like post-op foot, or maybe they've had an ankle sprain and you notice that they're a limping individual when they come into the office and are moving around the office. And so the length of that step becomes a very important part of the exercise. Sometimes we've found patients they have such a hard time keeping weight on that foot, they try to hitch over to the other foot super quick. So have them make that step really small, like maybe the foot's only going halfway past the other foot until they get confident. that success thing that you're building on, then they can start gradually moving the length of that step.
Common mistake on this is Austin goes heel to toe in one motion. A lot of people turn it into three. They go here, here, step, then toe. And then they can't stop in that flat position. They're either on their heel or they're on their toe, but they can't stop in that. We don't want to see them stop and then go to the toe. We don't want to see them stop. So teach them to go heel to toe in one fluid motion and not have this stop in the middle.
Should be smooth, just like one should be smooth, okay? Questions about anything? Okay,
See?
last
That guy's a
exercise,
smart.
last exercise. So this one, 90-degree punches. I don't know English. So the way that I've seen this like wrong in the clinic is like this, okay? So now I'm Asian, I like a good karate kata as next as the other Asian, but like we're not doing karate in this dojo, we're doing physical therapy, okay? So, thank you. I can say it because I'm Korean, right? So, okay, so when we do the 90-degree punches, right, ideally we want to have them start and we want to face them, okay? We want to square up our hips and our body. We want a good base, okay? Unlock knees. So now what we want to do is we want to step to one wall and pivot and then throw your punch that way, okay? Your back arm, go ahead and punch again, Sarah. See her back arm, how that's nice and elbowed? Okay, now when you come back, you're going to bring your foot back and bring it back to the middle. The next punch, you're going to step to the wall, pivot on your back foot, and punch likewise. Okay, come back to the middle. So I've had an aide. Well, like the patient asked my staff, like, "Okay, why are we doing this?" And he said, "I don't know, to teach you how to punch or something." Like that's not the point of this. It's not like self-defense. Okay, that'd be an extra bonus that we can provide, but that's not the purpose of this. Okay, so for many reasons. When we step and pivot, we're teaching our patients how to use their hips and their feet better instead of reaching and turning. So the example that I say is like, okay, instead of like, okay, you're in the kitchen and reaching for the refrigerator to get a glass of milk or a jug of milk and put that back, you can step with that. You can step and open that. So therefore your low back is not twisting. Because like using Steve's example of like a low back patient who has low back pain, we don't want to twist in that back and undo everything we've just done in therapy, okay? The other one too is this is a great one for people who have had like shoulder injury or surgery. We're trying to get that scapula to move and retract. So when we punch, it's not just like how Jonathan's saying, it's not like a glenohumeral movement. Like you want to get that scapula out and back. Does that make sense? Okay, questions with that?
I guess it's more of a comment. I think that's forgotten a little bit, is that we forget to like reset to good posture in between all these exercises. Because like when we teach this, if we don't have good posture in the first place, we're not going to be able to get that same movement that we could if we.
Right. What's your name?
Stephanie.
Stephanie, pleasure to meet you. It's my
Nice
first
to
time
meet
meeting
you.
Stephanie. She makes a valid point. The patient will do what they see. So if we're hunched or if we're like doing it awkward, guess what? They're going to hunch or do it awkward. So if we come back, reset, not lock our knees, come back here, guess what? They're going to do that. Okay. Same thing for like other people I've seen, like it's like a huge like this like I don't know Mulan move. Okay, like it's a shorter step, just as if okay like I'm going to walk and turn. It's the same principle. Okay. Questions with this?
Sorry, yeah. So like this isn't not. I mean, because I've been teaching it kind of like this, right?
Okay.
But we're wanting to step towards the wall, then move,
That's
and
right.
then readjust, and then step
That's
again, right?
Yeah. Personally, okay, as a therapist, I found it a little bit easier for people to get down this movement. And then once they've had this on their exercise sheet a few times, then they can get into the rhythm of it, right? So when you're initially teaching it, you might want to take it in steps,
Yeah.
just as discussed or described here. So, good.
Excellent.
Okay.
Thank you. Buck and I want to really just thank you guys for the dedication and hard work that you guys put into helping the patients that come through our clinics. We really appreciate the fact that you're putting this into helping them and getting something out of this for yourselves also. One thing I wanted to add on to the end of all of this is when our patients are coming in for their first session or second session, they don't have a whole lot of exercises. Speed is not important in getting them through their exercises. Take time, slow down, and be specific with how they're learning the exercises so that they aren't develop bad habits and so that you don't develop bad habits as teachers, because that's what you guys are. You are teachers. You're teaching these people how to improve their lives through movement and safety, security, and getting back to their goals. That's why they're coming to see us in the first place. And as those exercise sheets go from 3 exercises to 5 exercises, we've all seen the exercise sheet that looks like bang. Okay? That's the 4-letter word. We don't want it to get to that point. We can pull some of those exercises off that they can be doing on their own that they're very good at. But speed is not the most important thing in breaking down and getting their function proper. And then they can speed that up as their strength increases, their pain decreases, and their range of motion improves, and their confidence improves. That's really what we're looking for. Thanks again for you guys. Grab some extra food, get it out of here, because if there's food left when you guys leave, shame on you. And have a great day. Appreciate you guys.